Go cover ya.
Is leading the charge to make the 2024 Broker Carrier Summit possible, and we are so excited to have their support. In case you haven't heard, TAFS offers much more than freight factoring. It provides a comprehensive support system for trucking companies of all sizes, specializing in fast and efficient invoice factoring with the ability to pay carriers in as little as 1 hour. And TAFS services go well beyond factoring, offering a fuel card that unlocks major fuel discounts, flexible business loans that are designed to cater to the distinct needs of a carrier's operations, a dedicated, responsive client experience team, and much more. Black Box Logistics is a 3PL freight brokerage based out of Birmingham, Alabama. Black Box Logistics was formed in 2020 by 3 friends, Logan Dyer, William Graves, and Will Hopkins, in a basement office with the goal of bringing transparency around the clock communication and hassle-free customer experience to the table. Multi-service fuel card, the industry's first fuel card, was created by an over-the-road truck driver in 1978 to offer a safe, simple, and cost-effective way to handle fuel and trucking expenses. Initially, it addressed safety concerns of carrying cash on the road. Today, it combats advanced fraud with best-in-class technical and personal support. Sales-CRM is built for freight broker and agent sales teams. Manage your shipper prospecting and follow-ups. Organize your carriers in the lanes they run. HD Ships is a leading logistics provider specializing in sustainable and tech-driven freight solutions. With hubs in Reno, Phoenix, and London, we deliver comprehensive services, including full truckload, expedited cross-border, and intermodal freight. Leveraging proprietary technology, we offer 24/7 tracking, real-time visibility, and advanced automation to ensure safe, compliant, and efficient transportation. Our commitment to sustainability enables clients to offset emissions through carbon credits, aligning logistics with environmental goals. At HD Ships, we prioritize transparency, reliability, and exceptional customer service, empowering clients to achieve seamless, sustainable logistics solutions worldwide.
Matt Dahl.
Happy Friday. How's it going?
Good, man. Good. Weather's going to be like 70 today here in Tennessee, so weather's fantastic. How's your Friday?
It's pretty good. It's also very good to hear that you haven't left the country, that you're still in Tennessee. It's always a plus.
Yeah, I know you make that joke every show now. I've been in the country for 5 months now.
Yeah,
might be a record.
I'm gonna keep doing it. I'm gonna do it every week, and I'm sure you'll be gone soon enough. But yeah, no, it's been a good week. You got anything planned for the weekend?
Golf and football. So yeah, could be a lot worse. Well, I'm pumped for today's show. I mean, we haven't done this before. I have a recruiting panel of all sectors of the industry: W-2 agency recruiters, W-2 internal recruiters, agent recruiters, and a lot of really intelligent, driven people. So it should be fun. Shout out to our sponsors, Black Box Logistics, Will's company,
the People's Choice 3PL.
Whatever Will says. HD Ships out of Reno, if you're looking to be an agent, or we sometimes have W-2 roles too, reach out. Sales Dash CRM, the OG sponsor. They've been sponsoring us for over a year. Freight Specific CRM. We have agents that use it. Will's company uses it. Actually know a lot of brokerages now that are using Sales Dash. We had Josh on last week, if you want to watch that episode.
Yeah, 100%. Then we've got our banner sponsor, Tafts, an e-capital company now, top 10 packaging company. Great group out of Kansas City. We're actually going to have their COO and one of the sales guys on next week. Excited about that episode, which will be back next week to post some marketing and all that good stuff for the show. So we'll be looking forward to that.
Yeah. Well, should we dive into it? I don't know what order. We have 4 amazing guests today, and we're going to kind of bring them in one by one. So you got to learn a little bit about them briefly, and then we'll get the panel going.
Yeah, we'll just click on some people randomly. We'll bring Jessica on first. Jessica is with CS Recruiting. Hey, Jessica, how's it going?
Hey, I'm good. How's it going with you guys?
Going good. Happy Friday. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, I guess if you want to give the viewers who don't know you, maybe just a little bit about kind of your history, kind of where you're at, and introduce yourself.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm a strategic account manager at CS Recruiting. We're a recruiting firm that focuses on transportation, logistics, and supply chain. So not just your traditional domestic brokerage, but we do, supply chain roles. So your quality analysts, we do supply chain managers. So that's shipper side, manufacturers, technology, really anything that touches this space, we can help fill those roles. We only do the W-2 full-time permanent hire roles.
Very cool. I think that's cool you mentioned the shipper thing, because I've seen a couple of shippers with open to work roles, and see that out there too. So you guys really touch the whole industry.
Yeah, basically, if anything in your job description says that you need some sort of transportation, logistics, or supply chain, we can pretty much help fill the role.
Jessica, what would be super helpful is if and when you're filling those shipper roles, if you'll just ping me with a name and a position, maybe make an intro. Just like, hey, this is Will. He's with the People's Choice 3PL. He's really good at what he does. I'd really appreciate that.
You know how many people reach out to me on LinkedIn and they're like, hey, so I know you have all these connections. Can you connect me to the person that's handling shipping over at X, Y, and Z? And I'm like,
Yeah, I don't know about that.
You gotta keep some of my stuff secret,
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us, Jessica. Do you want to bring the next person on, Will?
Yeah, we'll bring Jackson on stage with Freight Flex.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Hey, happy Friday.
Happy Friday, boys. Jessica, it's nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too.
Well, Jackson, tell us a little bit about your role over at Freight Flex, what you do, all that good stuff.
For sure, yeah. So my background is I spent 5 years getting my feet wet brokering at Schneider National. Had a non-compete, non-solicit when I left. So actually went on the director of warehousing and logistics side for a distributor for 7 years. And then actually worked with the CEO of Freight Flex when they were getting off and ground. They were one of my primary providers. So I got the opportunity to come over here beginning of the year. So I'm probably the rookie in the recruiting space at this panel. But I've been recruiting for agency over here, and then recently have taken over a hybrid role. So I'm working the day-to-day operations with the success of our agents, and then still continuing to recruit and try to bring on some quality over here. So
fantastic. And you're out. I see your background. Yeah, I know you joined us today. You're out hunting. You took a break from.
Yeah. So I'm in Rockport, Texas. I drove down. So I'm Charleston based. Love my Charleston team, but we have both agents and internal brokers. We have a customer retreat this week and customer trip. So we're going to try to do some duck hunting. It's a little warm, but should get some good fishing out here. So it should be a good weekend. I'm going to take a little break to watch some Alabama football tomorrow. So looking forward to it.
That's awesome.
I remember.
Thanks.
I'm actually an Ole Miss fan, so I don't. It just felt right because I'm in Alabama. So
Hey, fair enough. I'll take it.
That's like a greeting down here. People walk by, roll tide.
Yeah, it's a default for anyone. It's just anything happens, roll tide.
Yeah, exactly. Well, awesome. Yeah, we'll go ahead and bring Val on with Logic Talent. We've had a couple of other Logic Talent people on. We've had Ryan and Bill on 2 times actually. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. So I'm Val. I work at Logic Talent as a director of talent acquisition. Prior to that, I was a freight broker for just about 4 years at Blue Grace Logistics. Same as Jackson, non-compete, non-solicit, had to figure out what to do next. So come adjacent and full circle back now to logistics recruiting. So Logic Talent, much like CS recruiting, that's our niche. We specialize in logistics, supply chain, global forwarding, and really excited. We recently brought on an A-plus player, Althea Roberts-Fenton. She worked with Markin for 17 years, which is a division of UPS with life sciences, clinical trials with the pharma as it relates to supply chain. So we've added that new service offering in addition to placing W-2 sales executives, operations on the shipper side, asset, non-asset. I mean, we do a little bit of it all, as well as freight broker agents on the 1099 side too.
Very cool. You're Chicago. I just realized we're having a lot of Chicago based because both you and Jessica, there's a lot of third party recruiters out in Chicago, which I guess makes sense.
None in Minnesota.
Thanks, Will. There's actually not a lot in Chattanooga either. I mean, there's a lot of roles in Chattanooga, but there's a lot of independent recruiting firms based in actually none that I know of in Chattanooga, but a ton in Chicago. So thanks for joining us, Val. I guess should bring the last person on, Taylor.
Yeah, last but not least, we got Taylor joining with BMAC. Hey, fun fact for anybody tuning in. Taylor stole a rep from me about a month, maybe 2 months ago. A good friend of mine came on at Black Box for like 3 days. Then he left and went to BMAC. So welcome, Taylor.
Hey, it was an accident. I swear. Not intentional. Thanks for having me anyways. Despite that, happy to be here with everyone.
Just a joke, no hard feelings. I guess I should have had some context for the viewers. It's a good friend of mine, somebody that I know outside of logistics. I went to go work at BMAC. We were exploring Black Box. So purely a joke, but not really because she did take the guy. But Taylor, give us a little bit of background on what you do at BMAC.
Yeah, so I'm the director of recruiting and marketing at BMAC. We are headquartered in Pittsburgh. That's where I am, but we have 5 offices throughout the U.S. I always say we're an industrial, flatbed heavy organization, but we really can do and move it all. My primary focus, I oversee our recruiting team who handles, recruiting for in our offices. So those are, of course, W-2, employees, a lot of them stepping into freight brokerage for the first time, maybe from some other, sales career path. And then I have a lot of the conversations at the higher level with experienced brokers and agents looking to make that transition somewhere new, whether that is in a W-2 or an agent role.
Very cool. I see you guys active a lot on LinkedIn too. You guys do a great job of that at the different college fairs. And I feel like I see every other week you guys are at a different fair getting your guys' name out there. So it's been cool to see your guys' growth.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's a good time. We like getting out of the office when we can.
Pittsburgh's a cool place to be for flatbed companies too. Some people call Birmingham the Pittsburgh of the South. There's fun facts.
I could see it.
Yeah.
You guys will have to deal with Will on the show. I never know what he's going to say. So I didn't even know that about Taylor. I invited Taylor on. I'm hearing, Will, you took one of my employees in the first sentence. I'm like, Will doesn't fill me in on any of this. So.
Hey, just throw this out there. Like most of the time, I don't know what I'm going to say either. It just comes out. And it just so happens that we do this live. So like, it's just out there. I can't bring it back. But back to Pittsburgh, it's a good place for open deck companies. Matt and I have a mutual friend, Ben Ham, PGT. He's out of Pittsburgh as well. Kind of the same deal, right? Like mostly open deck, and that's similar to what we do at Black Box. So no, very very cool. I'm sure that Matt's got some good questions to get us going here. I'll quit ranting and talking about Taylor stealing my people.
Well, I guess to start off, I mean, like maybe just a basic good discussion is like, what's everyone does, things a little bit differently here. But what's everyone kind of seeing in the market right now? Obviously, it's been a crazy freight market lately. But obviously that kind of affects everyone differently and different strategies you're seeing. And it's kind of an open-ended question wherever you guys want to go with it. But maybe that'd be a good place to just start is what everyone's kind of seeing out in the market as we are kind of hard to believe halfway through Q4 right now.
I can take this one right away. We've actually been talking about it a lot in our market trends over the last couple of quarters. We're seeing what we're calling like job hugging, where it's probably the hardest right now to get those people convinced to just even have a conversation with us, to take a new opportunity. We are finding the right people. We're maybe even getting the people on the phone, but then getting them like introduced to our clients, or even just taking the opportunity after they get the offer. They're staying with their current companies. They're not moving as quickly as we've seen in the past. So really that job hugging is probably like the biggest thing right now in the market that's causing a lot of issues, I guess you would say, in trying to fill some of our roles.
And from our side at Logitalent, I agree. It's been a crazy market, unlike anything I've seen in my adult working career. And I know there's been a lot of turmoil with the tariffs and different layoffs, things like that. But I hope I'm not naive. I do have hope, because I've seen a lot of our clients coming back to us for carrier sales managers, carrier sales reps, different import and export coordinators. So the fact that they're picking up on the operations side must mean that there's a good amount of business flowing through. So I know it's crazy right now, but I'm hopeful. I'm having fun over here.
I agree with you, Val. I feel like we've definitely seen an uptick in positions in just like the last, really since like, I would say October, we started to see an uptick in jobs. And I definitely think I'm hoping that continues going into the new year. And I would agree, it was like mainly operations leadership type roles.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, Taylor, Jackson? What are you guys seeing out there?
Yeah, I definitely think all the conversations that I'm having with people, it seems to be like a longer sales cycle per se, right? To get that person to want to make a move. And I think job hugging is a good word for that. I think people are afraid. I think the issues that people are facing with their current role, just with the nature of the market right now, they worry that, they're going to have that somewhere else too. If they're experiencing a company who's not paying their carriers on time, that was a complaint I had from someone the other day. And I was, we were able to kind of live share our screen and show them what that looked like for us. But I think people are fearful to step into something new and then end up in the same position again.
Yeah.
So I'm not a recruiter, right? But so in the Birmingham market, what you just spoke on is something that we've seen a lot. So for us in our hiring strategy, there's been a bunch of companies go under it, and a lot of that you can kind of tell because they're not paying their carriers. So then the reps are having issues sourcing capacity. Customers are, irritated. They can't service anything. So they're starting to look around, right? So we've onboarded quite a few people from companies in Birmingham that eventually went under. And with that, a lot of operation roles have become available. So for us, at least as an organization, we've been hiring it. And mostly what we've been seeking from like the open market is those operation roles. Because we really kind of, I don't know, the ones with the book of business just kind of happens and we have to build around it. So we've been onboarding a good bit over the last 2-3 months.
Yeah, from the agency side, I mean, y'all hit it on the head. And again, I've only been doing this, less than a year now, and it was definitely an eye-opening experience because coming from a background in brokerage and then dealing with brokers all the time, very used to a quick sales cycle in terms of, getting the customers, getting the loads, and getting into recruiting and finding out that this is a very elongated process sometimes, and it's about building trust, establishing rapport. And I've had months where I have goose egged, and I've had I think I had my probably best month back in October. But to y'all's point, it seems like a lot of heavy operational background that we're seeing and not really what I look for in agents, because we're very cradle to grave in what we look for. But to your point, I think the biggest draw I've seen is, agents that are frustrated, or W-2 brokers that are frustrated with the current carrier pay cycle and what they're dealing with, because it's a two-sided business in that regard. Whereas, it's important to have the customers and have the book of business, but if you're not maintaining the carrier relationships, that's the other piece of the puzzle. And I talked to Matt, we have a recruiter group that we kind of communicate with, and that seems to be the big push over the last quarter, is just companies that aren't treating carriers right or is really putting their reps in a bad spot and making them jump into the market a little sooner than I think they normally would have, given the volatility of the freight market.
Maybe that's a good segue too. I mean, Taylor brought it up. I've seen that too. Will's seen it. What are some other reasons that you guys are, obviously people are holding on to jobs. It's a longer cycle. I think we all agree there. But like, what maybe mistakes are you seeing companies? We hit on one already, with not paying carriers, or what are you guys seeing, as catalysts for switches? Has it been a lot of, restructuring, bad management, more on the pay side, more on the flexibility side, or what is everyone kind of seeing out there in terms of, what is kind of in this longer cycle getting people to, be open or to making the switch somewhere?
I've been seeing an influx lately. I don't know if it's just the way I've been posting or the network that I've cultivated, but I'm seeing a lot of W-2 sales executives now want to really explore the agent life, which I just did a podcast the other day, and I'll say, like, I'm a huge promoter of it. I'm 1099, 100% commission myself, but it has to be right. It takes a minute to build an empire. So really ask all the right questions, interview a plethora of different agencies before you make that jump. But I think one of the catalysts for them to want to explore that is because they're starting to feel really micromanaged by the companies that they're working under. I hear it all the time from sales reps. I don't want to make another cold call. I already have 30, 40, 50,000, in consistent GP every month. But now my manager's coming after me saying, well, you didn't make 60 to 70 phone calls today. Or it's just measuring the wrong KPIs. And so it's really that micromanagement that I've been seeing that's got people, opening up, wanting to talk more. And with the agent life, generally speaking, you've got more autonomy, right? So that's one thing I've noticed.
Yeah, I think Val hit
sorry, go ahead, Jason.
No, I think Val hit the nail on the head. I think the biggest proponent I've seen really in the past 6 months has been a lot more companies. We saw it start to happen is the return to office, right? There's a lot of people that have gotten very happy with how they work at home. And if they're producing, why do I need to come back into an office 5 days a week? And the other thing too is as the market and the economy changes, this constant change of commission structures, I think it puts them in a spot where they're trying to understand, to her point, why do I need to pound the phone? I'm bringing in a consistent 50, 60K in gross margin a month. That's great by agency standards and by standard brokers, but it's okay. You're going to continue to put ramp metrics in when we, in an inevitably tight market. I think it just leaves a bad taste in their mouth. And I think it leaves some individuals feeling just unappreciated in what they're providing for the company.
Yeah, I guess I can offer kind of the opposite perspective, right? For someone coming in W-2, maybe even new to freight brokerage, the reason that I'm seeing and talking to people a lot lately, and seeing people want to make that jump is one, being capped in commission in whatever sales industry they are in, which we all know there's a lot of earning potential in what we do in our industry, and I think people see that value. And I've also talked to a lot of people who despite some of the things that are going on in the market and some companies not being able to sustain themselves and us seeing a lot of doors closing, a lot of people think that there's, longevity and job security in this industry because it's, such a huge part of everyday life for everyone.
Yeah. And when you look at our company, we don't really do the agent model at all. So the people that we're talking to are, 100% sales positions where they're not doing that cradle to grave. Or, we do have some individuals that are that cradle to grave where our clients are looking for those types of people. But the individuals that we're talking to on the recruiting front, I would say a majority of them are looking more so for the stability, which is why they want that base salary plus the commission. I would agree with those remote roles are still like the the icing on the cake or whatever you want to call it. Those are the positions that I would say a lot of the sales reps are going towards, because who doesn't want to work remote, especially as a sales rep? They feel like they can do those positions at home. The work, going back to the office is definitely something we're seeing more of. And we're definitely filling those types of roles. But I would say the stability aspect is what we're seeing a lot with the sales reps, of why they're wanting to continue the movement through the sales positions.
Are you seeing higher base pays for in the office because of some companies, W-2 companies being remote, and then the agent, or the companies that are bringing people back in, or companies that are hiring, or is it generally a higher salary on that side, or is it pretty much just kind of
it's crazy. There's so many different ways that you can compensate your employees. So we have the companies out there that have the lower base salaries, but the larger commission structures, where, they get the commission after they've covered their seat. A lot of times those are the commissions that are the higher percentages, but the lower base salaries. And then we see the other, the opposite end, where it's the higher base salaries with the lower commission percentages, but they're getting it off $1. So it really is dependent on that sales rep and what they see as a better fit for them. A lot of times people who've been in the industry for a long time, they want that higher base salary because they want to come in and have, this, again, I'm going back on stability, but they want to know that they're covering what they were getting previously at their last company. So they want that higher base salary, and they'll take the lower commission. And then you have others who are go-getters. They're out there, they're really trying to push themselves. They'll take that lower base because they know they can, with that book maybe that they have, or the connections that they have in the industry, they can ramp up really quickly and start making that money with the higher commission percentage.
Oh, 100%. I think that's a good segue too to the candidate side, because I think we have a lot of millennials on this podcast, but obviously Gen Z is coming into the marketplace pretty fast, and AI is also coming into the marketplace pretty fast. I think I've seen a couple people on this panel talk about it, and what are we kind of seeing from maybe candidates? I know you brought up numbers here, and I know that's something I'm sure people will touch on, but what are we seeing maybe from candidates? Good, or it kind of makes you wonder what's going on right now. So maybe kind of a little bit of both on kind of the candidate side of what people are seeing, both good and bad.
I am Gen Z.
I'm a Gen Z. Are you the only Gen Z on this?
I am technically the first year of Gen Z, but I you know how they say Zillennial is that in between year, that's me.
Yeah, I think I'm 1 year after the cutoff. I'm technically a millennial, but I'm on the 1 year on the other side, I think. So that's why I was like.
What year were you?
94.
Millennials 81 through 96. Gen Z's 97 through 2012.
So I'm 2 years on the side of millennial. But it's crazy now. People are born. There's some 18-year-olds in this industry. So what? Born in 2007 that are in the job market right now, which feels crazy for me to say. But yeah, I'll let you guys go with this. I'm sure there's a lot of ways to talk about this.
Yeah, from an HR perspective, we've got to be careful too, right? When we're talking compensation, especially across state lines, there are rules and regulations, so you've got to tiptoe there. But I am having to do some educating with some of these candidates sometimes that come in and they say, well, I want 90,000 because they just feel like they deserve a $90,000 base. I'm like, can you please help me understand how you came to that conclusion? Because when we're dealing with sales reps on the brokerage side, like Jessica mentioned, you got to cover your seat, right? It has to be mutually beneficial. So if you're only generating, I don't know, 15,000 in GP a month, that doesn't really equate to the 90,000 salary base that you're requesting. So I just walk the candidates through that. I help them understand, paint the picture for them. And I tell them all the time, if you want to negotiate a raise, negotiate a higher commission plan. Once you get, ramped up, you're going to make more in a lucrative commission plan than you ever are in a base. That's kind of why I went to the 1099, 100% commission side. I started with a very reasonable draw, and then within 2 months realized, I'm leaving so much money on the table. Oh my gosh, look, I'm having so much success. So I made the flip. Now, I'm not saying that maybe makes sense for everybody, but the best negotiating power you would have, if possible, with a company is a better commission plan than a salary base, in my humble opinion.
I'm going to go off of what Val was saying. So when we are talk to our candidates, we're trying to get as much information as we can to share with our clients. So we're getting your metrics, we're getting, everything that you're doing in regards to your day to day, how many calls you're doing, really trying to make sure that we can sell you properly to our clients. And our clients are going to look at your numbers. They're going to see, and they're going to say, okay, this person is bringing in 40,000 a month in GP. They're not worth the $100,000 base salary or whatever it may be. Like, it's depending on what they're looking at in regards to what the person is doing or what they're bringing in, et cetera. So you also have to be realistic with your numbers and what you're doing in the industry in order to warrant that salary. And our recruiters, we're educating them 100% on that kind of stuff.
Val, I think that's super valid about younger people wanting more money faster, right? And upfront and not totally understanding that. And I think, that kind of continues after they start the job, right? Especially at least someone coming in maybe brand new to the industry. Like, they want that instant gratification so badly. And I think we all know how long it can take to really build something successful in this industry. So like, I also think, then it's a performance thing. Like, we don't have as many younger, fully commissionable sales reps, W-2 in our offices, because I think, the people who are older and used to being a little bit more patient and working and building for that, sometimes stick it out longer.
Yeah, no, I would agree.
So my take on that, I'm not a recruiter, but what we do at Black Box, a lot of our we have different setups for different positions, obviously, but a lot of our cradle to grave brokers, we prefer younger individuals, and it is more commission heavy than salary because they don't have, like a wife, kids, mortgage. They just don't have the overhead. So for them, I do agree with in the aspect that maybe older people might have more patience and understand the long time perspective and, putting in overtime to get that result. But I would argue that for us, at least, it's been good to get some young people in that are willing to take that risk on themselves. And, if they fall down, that they're not going to lose their house, wife, kids, and everything, because they might be living at home and like they don't have any bills. So it works out well that way.
Yeah, 100%. I think they're more risk averse. And but I definitely feel like I always try to talk everyone out of the job, right? Like, I want to paint like the worst picture nightmare that they could have to put up with. And then, if they still want to do it and think they can grind it out, then 100% I'm sold.
Oh, I mean, this industry is not for the faint of heart. You will get your teeth kicked in. And I always said, as a freight broker, I had to let my soul die and come back. You know what I mean? Before I could really be the strong broker that I was. I had a crying tree outside of the office that I would go hide underneath, because you're called every name in the book. You're thrown every crazy situation that you just can't even describe it until you're in the seat. But the ones that come out on the other end and stay with it, oh my gosh, it's such a lucrative business, and logistics is, always going to be a thing, because goods need to get from point A to point B. The world's going to keep on turning. So, it's a great career, but you definitely need some thick skin.
No, I think it's great that
sorry, go ahead, Jackson.
No, I think it's good that we're highlighting this, because I talk to Matt a lot, and I think it's something I get frustrated with, just having been a broker, having been on the other side, and then being back in the recruiting spaces. Matt operates this way, but I try to operate with such transparency, especially with the agency deal, because this industry isn't for the faint of heart. And especially when, in my case, when we're telling people to take on a 1099, eat what you kill role, I don't want to sell anyone anything and set, our whole deal is I don't want to set anyone up for failure, and I don't want to promise anyone, I want you to lose your house. Like, if we think it's a great fit, and I know Matt operates this way, like, I will push good agents that I think can make it in there, but we will never try to dangle anyone into a situation and lure them in, because a lot of people, the more tenured guys that we see reaching out more often, it's like these guys have, 3 mouths to feed. They have a wife, they have health, they're worried about health insurance. It's without an establishment and a true grit, it's a rough market to be in. And I think I even talked to Matt and some other recruiters about this the other week. It's like the barrier to entry for agency in my mind is, I like to see people with at least a year, maybe even 2 years of true experience in book building, and maybe having to rebuild a book once or twice before truly jumping over, so they really understand the ins and outs of it.
I like that you guys are doing that with people. When I got into logistics, I was 18. I went in and interviewed, and it was basically like, in so many words, they were just like, yeah, you're gonna be like picking out a beach house in like 6 months. And I was like, sweet, like sign me up. And like that wasn't the case. And I was like 1099. I didn't know how taxes work, so like I like spent all my money, and then like I owe the government a bunch of money. I'm like renting equipment. It was an awful setup, actually. I was bamboozled. So it's cool that you guys aren't tricking people.
When I got into freight, I empathize with y'all hiring for internal roles, because when I went to Schneider, I was building cars at the time. I thought I wanted to build cars for the rest of my life, and I got engaged. It was time to get married, and I went out and I interviewed with TQL, CH Robinson, and Schneider. It was the same thing. It's like, man, you're going to get on the floor, you're going to crush it. Like, you're going to be making $100,000 by the end of the year. And like at the time, I'm not going to disclose it, what was a very low base salary, but you get in there and you're like, yeah, I can do this. And then you get in and you see the washout rate at these larger places. It's like, you start with a sales class of 10 to 15 people, 90 days later, there's 3 of you left. And then 5 years down the road, there's maybe 1 of you that's still in that class. But I think those places are so critical to build your skin in this business. And as much as I recruit against, W-2 agencies, I think they're critical in this industry, because it does teach young people like what Taylor does. I mean, it's a way to get your foot in the door and really learn this industry and translate over. And you need places like that, because there's a lot of places just kind of throw you on the floor and say, hope you figure it out. Whereas, you do have to get trained and understand the ins and outs of this.
Yeah, I would say we love recruiting out of like the, younger talent who's got, a year to 2 years out of like the CH Robinsons, the Echoes, the Coyotes, like all of those players, because they're training their employees and putting the time and effort in. And so when they do go to, the mid-sized small brokerages, they have a little bit more experience in the sense of like just trying to figure out, the industry and who to call. And they had to work a little bit harder to maybe get logos under their name, because a lot of those logos are already taken. So then when they go to, the mid-sized broker or the smaller broker, they have more opportunity to use their connections, which, a lot of times that's what we're focusing on, right? Like that's what the end goal is.
You look at that too, because you make a great point. Like some of these larger brokerages, like if you build a book at a Echo CH Robinson with all the saturation too and all the accounts that are taken, generally have to be, a pretty good seller to do that. And that could be very appealing to both agent programs and to small, mid-sized W-2s. At least that's something I look at if I see somebody's built a book at a large brokerage, not just the training part, but also I think it's more difficult in some ways to sell if you're at $1 billion company, because you got to find, prospects that aren't taken.
I agree. Actually, I was going to say this story a little bit before. So when I started at CH Robinson, I was there for maybe 6 months. And one of the girls asked me, she was like, so do you like logistics? And I was like, oh yeah, I like it. It's, it's nice. She's like, good, because you're going to be stuck in it the rest of your life. And I feel like a lot of us kind of have gone through that capacity of our lifetime. And it's just so funny because like, I really do think that's the truth. It's like, once you get in it, you like really get your teeth in, you just really start to like understand it, love it. People are just staying in it. They either find different routes of where their career path goes, but still staying in the logistics industry.
And I feel like the people that leave always come back. Like I always compare it to the restaurant industry. Like if you start like serving or bartending, like it's so hard to ever give it up, right? Like it's like the same thing.
Exactly.
I would agree.
No, it's funny that y'all say that because when I think about being back at the big brokerages, it was drive in and LTL, right? Like that's what we did. And then I see like Black Box and BMAC, and you see these companies that are not only taking young brokers, but teaching them the specialty parts of the business. Like I was fortunate enough to bring on some heavy haul guys earlier in the year. And it's a part of the industry I just wasn't very familiar with because it wasn't what my background was. And even in my other role, we just, I was drive van box truck. And to see the specialty services and really, the kind of revenue and gross margin in the heavy haul industry and the flatbed industry was just, baffling to me. And again, it's such a specialized piece, and there's not a lot of those guys out there. And the companies that can really dig their teeth, it's a great opportunity for some people out there to really capture what is a niche market and doesn't have a lot of saturation yet.
That's actually, I have a question for you guys. Are you seeing a lot of companies, whether it's like brokerages or going towards more of a niche focus because of just so much saturation out there with how many companies are doing the same thing, where you see people are starting to become more siloed under, whether it's heavy haul or refrigerated or like life sciences, pharmaceuticals? Like, do you see that more? Because I feel like I've noticed that trend where a lot of the brokerages that I'm starting to talk to, like newer brokerages that maybe we didn't have their logo before, but now they just signed with us. They are more niche focused.
We're at Black Box, we're going the opposite. Actually, so again, yeah, open deck, heavy haul, OD type stuff. 80% of our book is flatbed freight. And then what we've done as of late, so you guys kind of talked about, maybe Cat's at Coyote goes to a different company, and then we bring them in and kind of put them in a leadership position with something that they've specialized in. So what we've done within the last 3 weeks, we started a Mexico offering. So we've got a Mexico department now, started a car unit hauling, so autos, so not putting them on hot shots or step decks, but actual car haulers. We've done a international door-to-door offering. We have plans to kind of ramp up our government freight and our dray offering. So, we got to like 40, 45 million revenue, just pretty much open deck. But then within that, these different offerings with the existing customer base, we're able to bump that pretty good. So we think that the more options we can provide and siloing them off within the organization. So similar to the first one that comes to mind, like a TQL, right? Like they've got like an international department that handles it, LTL, all that good stuff. So we're creating like small units, teams within our company that specialize in these like niche things where we can have multiple offerings, but still our go-to-market is that open deck freight. But within that, where can we take load share with existing customers and have those additional offerings? And through that, like the more things that we offer, what we found is the more doors that open, the more referrals we get, the more that, good things just tend to happen. It's a good way that we found to grow in this market, right? By picking up revenue in other places as opposed to what we've traditionally done.
Yeah, I'd say we're in the same spot. Like FreightFlex is going the opposite direction. We're expanding as much as possible. We went, the team did a great job. We got IAC certified this year, so we can service in and out of the airports, in and out of the ports. But on the candidate side of things, I do think it's niche. Like the majority of guys that I'm getting and screening on a weekly basis, hey, I only do heavy haul, or hey, I only do box trucks, or hey, I only do. But I think that's what I try to use as a selling point is you have, not only customer saturation, but from a mode of operation, we can offer anything domestically, from a service perspective. And to Will's point, it's as you bring in agents and they collaborate with the internal, it's like you can use everyone's intelligence and specialty to kind of build out your service offering that way.
I think that if you have just to be very clear, we're not trying to, have one individual, like everybody be able to do all these things, but us as an organization have the capabilities through different people. So we're niching in the people and what they do and what they specialize in. But overall, we're expanding our offering.
Yeah, I'm seeing that too. I've seen an uptick in a lot of companies wanting drayage sellers now. For example, drayage and cross-border Mexico seem to be some of the hotter topics that I've been seeing. Yeah. And I would say to the candidates, when you are choosing your next opportunity, if those are niches that you are strongest in, really vet those prospective employers to make sure that they can handle your freight properly, because we're talking about niches where you make one mistake and you just cost yourself thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars. There's just a lot more nuances in something like drayage or heavy haul or cross-border Mexico. So these candidates need to be interviewing those companies just as hard as the companies are interviewing them.
But for the candidates, so at least for us, we might not know anything about like drayage. I don't know much about drayage. So like somebody that's been in an operator role at another company doing drayage for 4 or 5 years, maybe like mid-tier responsibility, they could easily come to Black Box and kind of build that out and propel their career, take ownership. So I don't know, at least for us, that's kind of what we've been doing is not poaching people, but kind of being on the lookout for people that are, like involved in the stuff that we want to get into, that have seen it, maybe not done it before, but they can take that experience and we can give them the platform to do that for us. So we can learn alongside them, but give them the control to do it because we don't know how to do everything.
I'm curious what Val and Jessica are seeing on this side too, because I'm seeing a lot of that in the candidate side too. And a lot of questions that are coming up are, how's your insurance for this? Because a lot of these specialty, type things, they want specified insurance. How do you handle claims on this specific item? There's a lot of like questions that candidates want to know. That's why I may disagree with Will a little bit on this. He may be bringing some people in, but if you're like TMS or your insurance or your systems aren't set up, it's very, I'm not saying Will's aren't, but like a lot of candidates, I'm curious if Jessica and Val are seeing this, and maybe Taylor too, for internally at BMAC, like, because we're seeing it at HG where a lot of these niche people, they're having a lot of questions and they're going deep down because they've either had a bad experience and they know, like you just said, the mistakes are costly, on some of these niches.
Absolutely. I'm seeing a lot of that and I love it. I love when they ask a lot of those questions. It shows that they are professional and they know what they're doing. When they don't ask those questions, I get a little bit leery and I'm like, I don't know if you're going to be, the candidate that I want to partner with, because there's so many nuances that you need to understand. I've got a little bit of PTSD. This was a candidate that stuck with me throughout the years. I always use it as an example. And this is why I'm saying the candidates have to be that ingrained in asking these questions, because I took, for example, years ago, a candidate that was cradle to grave, all drayage, came from a little bit of a bigger box, 3PL, put them into a smaller to medium sized brokerage that wanted to build out that drayage program. He thought, no problem. I've got the carrier relationships. I've got the customer relationships. But guess what happened? The carriers didn't follow him because now just his small book wasn't giving them all the volume that they were getting from his larger company that it came with. So essentially, even though he had the customer relationships, he couldn't get that pricing back with those carriers. And it screwed him. And it's something that has stayed on my heart for years and made me feel really bad. So that's why I'm saying to all recruiters, all candidates across the board, like really dive deep into every little nuance before you pick that role, because I never would have saw that coming until it was too late.
Yeah, I agree with on the recruiter front, our recruiters, we're educating them about like the questions that they should be asking in their interview process, because you really want to make sure it's a fit, not just our clients. Obviously, we get paid from our clients to fill the roles, but we also want to make sure that it's a long-term fit, that these people are going to be there, for more than 2 years, going at 5, 10 plus years. And so the end goal is to make sure everyone's happy. So we really want to make sure that those candidates are asking the right questions, and we're preparing them going into their interviews to make sure that they are, asking the right questions, making sure that these companies can cover, whatever they're bringing in or whatever it may be that they have questions. Maybe it's like digging into just even their TMS system and understanding what their systems look like. Maybe the customers that they have, making sure that they're available, right? That's another question. You have this potential book, but if somebody else is already moving that freight, you're not going to be able to bring it. So, asking all those right questions is important.
Yeah, I think y'all hit it ahead. And to follow up on Matt's point, especially with candidates, it seems more recently, we're fortunate where our vice president of agency, Brianna Condon, does our demos. And she was like the first employee at FreightFlex. And a lot of the candidates now, it's not just a high level overview of what the system is. They want to see it working. They want to see loads built out. And then to y'all's point, I think a big qualifier that we're doing right now is like, I usually have candidates now, if we're getting into the contracting process, they've got a list of MCs. They want to know if they can work with those carriers with your company. Are they have coverage? Same thing on the customer side. Can I get credit? If I can't get credit, can I get credit insurance on them so I'm covered? So I think we're dealing with a pool, at least on the agency side, of more educated brokers coming into these meetings and knowing what they need. But I think it makes the conversations a lot easier because it's being able to set them up for success for the long run by having all those qualifiers versus, hey, yeah, man, sign the contract, let's do this, and they get in the door. Well, you can't work with half your customer base and half your carrier base, so you're having to rebuild now.
What are you seeing, Taylor?
Yeah, I mean, 100% definitely have a lot of people who have a lot of experience asking more targeted questions, which I think is great. I've been actually getting a lot of questions about like volume, like people saying, hey, I'm having to give these loads back. I'm having to say no to these because, my company can't support it or carrier base can't support it. So, even things like that for sure. And I think with any of those kind of questions, it's really the responsibility is on us to be transparent. We all want to get people in the door, but, we can't try to shove a candidate into a box that they don't fit in, if their needs aren't going to be met, and it's not going to make the most sense.
Yeah, I feel like half my day is actually talking people out of it. Just or stay where you're at, right? We don't need that blood on our hands. Like everybody's agreed across the board. We really want the best for people at the end of the day. Of course, we're earning commission. We're not doing this for free, but it doesn't mean anything if you're not going to be happy and stick there. Our reputation is everything at the end of the day. So it's kind of my 2 cents.
No, 100%. What can candidates maybe, I don't know, this flows, I feel like we could do this show for a very long time. It's flown kind of by, but maybe what's some advice, to candidates out there? I know all of us are dealing with candidates and, everyone's in there's a time you're going to need a recruiter, whether it be an internal recruiter, an agency recruiter, an agent recruiter. And what's maybe some suggestions, for how to deal with, not deal, it's a wrong word, how to, network and maybe, form relationships with recruiters. Cause you might be, somebody may be happy at a job now. And a year later, I don't know if you guys remember this, but if somebody was like rude to you a year previously, when you reach out and they come back, it's a long industry, and there's a lot of quiet hiring that goes on in this industry too, on the W-2 and the agent side. So maybe that's a good place to leave it, just kind of advice for candidates, whether they're open for work now or they're looking for work in the future. Maybe that's a good place to kind of segue.
Yeah, some of my best candidates have actually turned into lifelong friends. Really build a strong partnership, a relationship with your recruiter. Don't look at us as just transactional and something to throw away, because you need a good doctor, you need a good mechanic, you need a good accountant, you need a good recruiter, right? We have a wealth of different opportunities, resources, and a deep network. So I would say for the candidates, conversations are only free. We're not going to bite you. Just have the conversation. At the end of the day, you'll never hurt our feelings if you want to turn down an offer. Hurts my feelings though when you try to ghost me and then come back 6 months later and with your tail between your legs. We're going to remember that. And also, as large as this industry is, it's actually really, really small. And we all cross paths and talk to each other at different competing recruitment firms all the time. So I would say for candidates, be honest, because if you're trying to hide certain titles or companies that you worked for in the past, or if you're trying to elongate, like, oh, I worked here from 2016 to 2020, but it was actually 2016 to 2018. It's more likely than not that we're going to find out, and I can just pick up the phone and call my new friend Jessica and be like, hey, Jessica, did you run across this too? We all talk. So the more honesty that you can give us and transparency, the better. We are equipped to help you. We are trained to be wordsmiths. We are trained to find the beauty in the messiness. But we can't do that if you start off the relationship treating us as transactional and you lie to us.
Yeah, and if I would say another thing is like kind of what Matt was saying with, maybe you're not looking right now, but in the future you want to have those relationships. I would say connecting with, like, example at CS Recruiting, you're getting added into our database, and maybe we don't have something for you right now that is of interest, but we're constantly adding new jobs every single day. And we're reaching out to the candidates in our system and letting them know of these positions when they're coming available. So maybe we don't have it right now, but in 6 months, we might have that position that better aligns with you. Or, maybe you're not looking right now, but in 2 years, when you do need to start looking, hey, you have all these emails that we've kind of been reaching out to you, sharing with you our newsletter, what the marketplace looks like. Now you know who to go to help find a new opportunity. And so just building that relationship. And then my big thing is connecting. Like, I'm constantly adding people on LinkedIn. Connecting is one, you're just building your network. But then if you ever need anything, whether it is like Val is saying, a recruiter, an accountant, somebody who's doing life insurance, like you have somebody probably in your network already. So having that too is super important. So think about that when you're building out your LinkedIn.
Just be careful though, because ironically, even though it's a networking platform, it caps you at 30,000 connections.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
Must be nice to have that problem. Must be nice to have that problem.
We can follow. You can follow.
You can follow.
If you don't want to connect, you can follow.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah.
I remember Charlie was so nice when I first got LinkedIn. I think I sent her a connection request. She sent me a message. She's like, I'll follow you back, but sorry, I can't do that. That's when I first was like 2 years ago, and I first learned about it. I was looking at all the cool people to follow. That's when I first learned that was a thing. Thankfully, I'm far away from that too.
I'm getting kind of close. I think I'm at like 25,000. So I need to sometimes pull back a little bit.
Yep. And I was going to say too, I just said this on a podcast the other day, but we know that a lot of brokerages, they look at their commission plans, they tend to restructure those, and the new rollouts tend to happen in Q1. So I'm telling candidates right now, if you suspect that something like that is going to happen, or there are other changes or acquisitions that you're hearing rumors of, then now is absolutely the time to have the conversations. Yes, we understand. Maybe you want to hold out until December because it's the holidays, you're waiting on that bonus, but have something lined up for Q1 before those bids come out, so you're not so far behind the pack and you can save yourself, and be in a new seat in the new year.
Yeah, I think y'all hit it on the head. Like, again, hit the nail on the head with this. Like, what I've learned in this role in the 9 months I've been in it is just like brokerage. You have to operate with a level of respect and transparency for everyone. Like, just like they're out there cold calling shippers, like we're reaching out to candidates, and it just by operating with a level of respect, as big as this industry is, it's tiny and everyone talks. And at the end of the day, I know each of y'all, because I'm the same way, we have everyone's best interest at heart. I mean, Matt's created a great little recruiting group. And if someone's not a fit somewhere, we go and reach out to other, like, hey, think this is a strong candidate. They're just not a fit for us. Maybe y'all can find a home for them. I mean, everyone in this industry talks, and I think it even applies tenfold in the recruiting side of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think most of you guys kind of took the approach of people being passive and open to conversation. So I'll maybe take the other approach and kind of give advice for people who are active and applying and interviewing and actively looking for something new. And I think my top advice for someone in that position is really know what you want and be honest about it. How often do we interview someone and they're like, oh, well, I've done this and I've done that and I could do this again or this. And it's like, but what do you want to do? In your ideal situation, your ideal role, what does that look like for you? Because I want to make sure I can give it to you. And, being honest about that. A lot of people who are in a situation where, they just need a job. They got laid off. Their company closed its doors. They need something fast. Like, I feel like they're not always honest in their interview, and not in a bad way, but like almost in a people pleasing way, right? They're answering the interview questions the way they think we want to hear the answers or what's going to get them the role. And it's like, sometimes that can get you into a situation then where you're in a role that's not a good fit or maybe not what you wanted. So, don't answer questions the way you think they should be answered. Just, be the authentic version of yourself.
Good advice.
Oh, fantastic advice. Well, we appreciate, I don't want to keep anyone here because we already hit the hour, but I feel like we could have gone an hour and a half. It was a really fun conversation. We'll have to, do this again. I don't know if anyone has any closing. We have a bunch of comments here too. It looks like Bill said, great podcast, great balance. Some of these, because Will and I have different feeds. Some of these I can't see the users on. Maybe Will can.
LinkedIn user. Don't know who that is. Don't know who this is either. No,
I
awesome.
think
Yeah.
we're on different feeds, so like I can't see if they're like tuning in on mine or they're tuning in on yours. But
Yeah. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. It was a great conversation. I know I learned a lot. We'll have to do it again. But yeah, thanks for carving out some time for on your Friday afternoon to spend it with us.
Thank y'all for hosting, and it was nice to meet y'all.
Yeah, thank you. Same to you guys. Have a great weekend.
Y'all have a good weekend.
yeah, happy Friday,
Thanks,
everybody.
guys.
That was fun.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, no, good episode. Lots of good stuff in there.
Yeah, I feel like we could have gone a while on that. Well, we'll be back next week. Shout out to our sponsors again. Black Box Logistics, People's Choice 3PLs, Will would say, HD Ships. If you're looking to be an agent, we sometimes have W-2 roles available as well. Sales Dash CRM, the OG freight specific CRM. Hit up Josh Lyles or Drew. Tell them a dog sent you. And Taft's top 10 factoring company. And yeah, we'll be back next week.
All right, Matt. Enjoy your weekend. We'll be talking soon.
Sounds good. See you.